Welcome in, everybody. This is Charlie Castro. I want to welcome you to a very special edition of one of our YouTube channel videos. This is only going out for our buyers today, and I'll explain more about that, what we're doing, why we're doing this afternoon. But if you're receiving this video, it's because you are on our buyers list. You receive our weekly mailings and tapes. And we see some things coming in our future that we think you need to know about. And so we thought it was important that we put 20 minutes in the can for you to view this week or listen to this week. And get some ideas as to what we are seeing in the market and how it may benefit you. So about today's video, this again is for buyers and buyers reps only. If you're receiving this, you are on our buyers list. We are not sending this out for marketing purposes. We're only sending it out to people who receive our weekly list. I would suggest that you grab a pen and paper. Be prepared to take down a few notes. As I said, this will be a 20-minute short video. What we're going to be talking about specifically is some bank-owned property that we see as seeing some changes to it. We're going to talk about a number of things today, but we consider this to be a must-watch video. Again, if you're on our mailing list, we invite you to spend the next 19 minutes now watching this video and what to expect in 2017. We're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So why are we doing this special edition video? Well, first of all, we did want to say happy holidays, happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, and for all your support in 2016. It's been a great year. We thank you for that. But that's not the reason why we did this video. It is important that we continue to spend time with you so you can better understand what it takes to win bank property. So we want to talk about that, although that's not the reason why we're doing this afternoon. We do want to make sure that if you're on our mailing list, you know the protocol and how important it is to read each one that we send out. We have 4 different lists. We're going to talk about those 4 different lists. We have 4 different lists that go out each week. It's very important that you not only read the protocol, but read my footnotes, because every time I get a list from a seller now, it's got a little bit different personality to it. It's really super important that you do that you read the protocol, but that's really not the main reason either. But we did want to update you on a few new additions to our vendors list. We do have a new vendor we're going to introduce this afternoon. You'll be getting this tomorrow morning, in the morning. I want to talk about that, but that's really not the reason either. The reason we really did this morning was because last week, starting last Monday, we started hearing of some changes that were coming to these bank lists that we see every week. And it's very, very important that you know what we know, so that when we just send this stuff out, we don't have all this information and you don't. So I'm doing this in a verbal manner. There will be some protocol lists that will go out as well. But I'm doing this specifically for the purpose that you know what we know and you see what we've been saying. Okay, there are some changes coming to our bank-owned foreclosed properties. And I did a YouTube video a couple of days ago. You may have seen it. But I talked about in that all the things that we've been hearing about that's going to happen in the coming months in returns with regards to some of the laws we may see on our books. And we know we're going to see a change of the tax policy. We're going to see some tax cuts. That may have some real estate implications in it. We're certainly going to see some changes in healthcare. We're going to see some changes in a number of different areas. The stock market's certainly going to be a little more volatile. But I read all the different things that it talked about, in terms of how this is going to affect real estate in 2017. And I can honestly say this. I've been doing this now since 2009. And at the end of every year, I do one of these little things where we talk about what we see in the coming year. Well, every year has been pretty easy to predict. It really has. I mean, last year I could have sat here and said, well, what we expect in 2016, we expect the market to continue to rebound. We expect interest rates to stay low. We expect inventory to be plentiful, especially in terms of REO inventory. We expect bank inventory to continue to go up, but also prices continue to rise. We knew that. It was predictable. The one thing I came away from reading all the stuff that I've read the last 10 days is it's really unpredictable. We don't know what to expect. Nobody does. All the different stuff I read, it's good, bad, or indifferent. And we don't know what it's going to be. So it's going to be a very interesting year. But one of the things I did read was about Freddie and Fannie and how will some of the new laws affect them, and will they survive the next 12 to 18, 24 months. Interesting thing, and I'm going to talk about that in a few slides because we heard something about some Freddie inventory that we might be seeing here very, very soon. We do know that the banks are sitting on a plethora of shadow inventory. We have known that for a while. If you get these bank lists from us every week, you know that you see anywhere from 5 to 15,000 new properties every week, but the next week it's a brand new list. So what happens to the ones that didn't sell from the previous week? That list just goes back to the cycle again. So we know and have known for a while that there's a lot of inventory that's out there that's not been sold, and it's not been sold primarily because they're just waiting for their price. They're just going to send it back to auction. They're going to wait till they get their price because the market's going to continue to rebound, and they're just going to wait for the price. We believe that's about to change. The government regulations have definitely made it harder for banks to foreclose on somebody. We think there could be some changes coming to that. So then how many homes are out there that are currently in pre-foreclosure? And could they be coming on their way to the market sometime soon? Those are good questions to be asking. As we all know, if you get our bank lists, there's a bank price, whether it's called a reserve price or an indicative bid price or a target price or whatever you want to call it. The bank sets a price, and that's the price. Is that going to change? We're going to now share with you what we've learned from our bank sources in the past 10 days, and it's just good, important information for you all to have. So, $1 million question. Will the banks begin to take less than the reserve prices? We believe this to be the case. We had 3 or 4 of our bank reps tell us last week that we can expect that to happen. Only one of the auction houses, I'm going to go through each one. I'm going to lay out each one of the bank sources that we have that we work with. 3 of those 4 told us last week that the banks are going to start loosening up their price guidelines a little bit. And how we see it is going to be unique, tape to tape, week to week. And so you have to pay close attention to where you find this stuff at. Hudson Marshall began taking less than the target bid several weeks ago. If you read the weekly protocol, you'd have known that. And I say that because many people didn't, and I'm going to talk about that. When they started adding a column to it that said bid price that the seller will consider, we had buyers say, I never even noticed it. Didn't bother to look at the list that week, Charlie, didn't even see it. But they started lowering their prices a couple weeks ago. RealtyBid notified us to expect prices to change, and they will now accept some offers on certain inventory on a weekly basis, in particular on lower end properties, and it's situational. So as I go to each vendor, I'm going to talk about what each vendor is willing to do and what they're not willing to do, so you're really clear as to where you can get price breaks and where you can't. We were told to expect a large list of HUD properties in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, I know if anybody remembers what it was like in 2009, 10, 11, and even a little bit of 12, banks sold properties in tapes, a 20, 30, $50 million tape. Excuse me. And you would buy the entire tape, and you'd get good, bad, and ugly type properties in there, but you'd buy the whole tape, and you got great prices. That's what the hedge funds were doing, right? 50, 60%, 40% of market value. The banks got stuck with a bunch of inventory at a very bad time in our history when the markets crashed. The general sense is they don't want to get stuck with that inventory again. They don't want something to happen in the economy that would cause them to be stuck with a whole bunch of inventory. That's why you're going to start seeing some of these come down, we believe. Okay, now I'm going to go through each one of our 4 bank vendors. It's important that we do this together because I don't know that everybody out there that gets these lists understand that when they see a list come in, I'm getting the sense that some people, not everybody, our buyers list has grown to be a pretty hefty list, and we're not recruiting for new buyers right now. We only about once every 6-8 weeks will do a recruitment thing where we're looking for new buyers. We like the buying group that we have, but I'm not sure that everybody's paying attention to what they're looking at. And I'm willing to spend time on the phone with anybody and everybody that wants to do that. I do that with people all day long. I have no issue doing that. We prefer to do that. But if you're receiving these lists, and there's going to be an invitation at the end of this to continue to receive or ask to be left off the list. Here's our vendors. First of all, RealtyBid, and I'm going to do this by the date that their lists come out because all these lists comes out on a certain day of the week. So Mondays happen to be RealtyBid, so we're going to do them first. Typically, that list is only 200 to 300 properties, but you can find some real good deals off that property. We have a couple buyers that buy off that property every week, and they get good deals off that list every week. We have been so informed that they will begin to accept less than the reserve price. Now, we don't put the reserve price on the sheet that we send out. As most of you know, we don't do that. We can't do that, but we can give you the reserve price. So we can tell you the reserve price. We probably even tell you the ones they'll accept less on. How much less? Well, we don't know yet. It's going to fluctuate. It's going to be list by list, week by week. It's totally situational. So I don't want anybody taking it as a unilateral statement that all of a sudden now you can get these lists offered below the reserve and get them. That's not the case. We believe that the low-end property in particular is going to be targeted. So if you're buying that low-end stock, which we talk about a little bit towards the end of the slideshow as well, if you're buying that low-end stock, that's where you can really get some super deals. They were very clear to us. They want those off their books. And when I say low-end, I'm talking under 50 grand. So you're going to be able to get some really good buys on some of that low-end inventory and that low 5. And there are properties on there that are as low as $1,000. They go up to $50,000. That type of inventory is going to become even less expensive. So you want to look at those lists and ask questions about the properties you may want to acquire off those lists. Number 2 is auction.com. This list comes out every Tuesday and every Friday. By far our largest list in terms of volume. We get anywhere from 3 to, we've seen lists of over 10,000 properties in any given week. We believe that's going to increase, but it's also the one vendor, very important, auction.com is the one vendor that right now is saying they're sticking close to that reserve price. Will they accept less on some? They might, but I would just still encourage you for the moment not to be thinking on the auction.com list that you can just start offering under the reserve and they're just going to take it for you. We understand that in many cases their prices are overpriced. We get it. We know that. But we don't run the banks. The banks set the reserve, not us. So if we tell you the reserve price is something, that's going to be the price. But this is what we do recommend. If you stop looking at that list because you can't find good deals, I'd start looking at it again, because we're going to see those prices start to drop as well. We've been told that, but at the moment, nothing there has really fundamentally changed. Hudson Marshall, and I don't think many people realize this either, but Hudson Marshall, our batting average in terms of getting properties is higher with them than anybody else. I get the list when I get it. There is no day of the week that it comes out. The one I got last week, I got Friday afternoon late. It just went out this morning. So, excuse me, I'm recording this on Monday the 21st. So this morning you should have gotten a Hudson Marshall list. There can be anywhere from 50 to 2,000 properties on these lists each week, and there's usually multiple lists. I usually get 1 to 2 a week, sometimes 3. And this is a list that I can get you lockboxes on. The one we sent out this morning, probably 40% on the list were vacant, which means I can get you lockbox codes, and the auction didn't end until a week from tomorrow. So you had 8 days to do your due diligence and get your bids in. They began accepting less than the reserve 2 weeks ago. And what's interesting about this was I had several buyers say to me, I didn't see that. And I said, did you read the protocol? He said, no, I think I just got it and just Please, when I get a list, I take time over an hour, typically over an hour per list, to write the protocol based on what I was told about that particular list. There'll be a different personality to every one. I really encourage you on some of these, especially Hudson Marshall and Realty Bid right now, where you know you can get good deals. Be paying attention to that protocol. I write it for a reason. I wrote right in there that this is the price that the buyer or the seller will accept. There was a column you could plug in that was significantly below the target price, which is really unusual. But they started that 2 weeks ago. I didn't even catch it. I didn't realize it was going to be a consistent thing going forward, but apparently it's going to be. That's the Hudson Marshall list. I pay very close attention to that list as we go down the road in 2016 and 17. The final one is a new vendor. They're called Equistream. We just added them last week. We don't know what day of the week we're going to get the list, but this is what we do know. They buy in bulk from banks, and then they wholesale them out. And you're going to get some really super good deals. I expect a list from them probably by tomorrow, which would be Wednesday the 23rd. We expect this to be the most friendliest list in terms of pricing, and they are aggressively priced. Pay close attention to the protocol. It's not going to be the same as the bank list. You've got to read the protocol. It's very important. And if you don't understand it, just call us. Just drop me an email and say, Charlie, can I get 15 minutes of your time? I am glad to do that. Again, we're going to start taking people off the list if we don't get responses from them. If we don't feel there's an interest there, I can't keep spreading these tapes out around town. So we're going to be very, very careful how we hand those out. But if you don't understand something, please contact us. So what should you expect in the coming months? I think you're going to expect to see increased inventory for sure. Absolutely. You're going to see more properties come on the market. You're going to see properties start to go down on the bank side. When prices go down, competition is going to increase. I'd be prepared to move. That's what we're doing here. We just brought on one new staff member today, actually Monday the 21st, that we decided to bring on last week to gear up for what we think is going to be an exciting 6 to 8 months. We expect there will be no immediate fire sale, but rather a gradual shift towards more investor-friendly pricing. We do not expect to see all these prices go down tomorrow, so don't expect that. It never works that way. These are big ships. They don't turn quickly. They turn very slowly, but you're going to start to see it turn. So that we're just asking you to simply pay attention to what we send out each week so you know which ones are the better price lists. Expect to see 3 to 5 new lists come from this office weekly. If that is burdensome to you, if we are just filling up your inbox needlessly, say so. We will be glad to take you off. And then finally, what should you expect? Expect the unexpected. And we think it's going to be a wild ride for the next 6 months, if not longer. Some friendly reminders. Don't bid if you've not conducted your due diligence. We need to have all your buyer's info. Signed agreements are expected within 48 hours of winning a bid. We cannot get you access to most of these inside. So if you're trying to get access to most of these, you got to find your own way in. You all are clever enough to figure out how to do that. If you're a broker and you do not explain the protocol to your buyer and you submit an offer, we've got a new policy now. It's called, if you do that one time, you're off our list. If we accept an offer from your buyer and that buyer did not understand that there's no contingency period, his due diligence should have been completed, we have all of his paperwork within 48 hours, he's going to have to put up earnest money in 48 hours. If he doesn't understand those basic fundamental things, you've not done your job, we will take you off our list. Our fees are always the same on bank property, 2% over $100,000 and $2,000 under. If somebody is a broker, you just simply add on top of that. Did this. I'm not going to do this again. A few highlights here. Response times 1 to 14 days. Most of you should know that. Most of our successful buyers have taken the time to learn the protocol. The people that had the most success buying bank property are people that we spend time on the phone with all the time because they get it. They hear how it works, they understand it, they embrace it, and they're successful based upon that. And then be patient. You may not get. We had one guy a couple weeks ago. He bid on his first 2 properties and he won his first 2 properties. I mean that like never happens. If that happens to you, God bless you. That's great. But it's rare. It's usually 1, 2, 3, 4 bids before you finally get one that you win. So be patient with bank property. There's plenty of it. Okay, now I'm going to shift gears. I'm completely shifting gears away from REOs. But if you're on our list and you get our weekly bank list, if you don't know this, it's important that you know. In 2016, where our buyers found the best deals were these low-end REOs, privately owned, former bank-owned properties that were bought in bulk by different vendors. We're on a number of vendors' lists now. We receive anywhere from 5 to 10,000 private REOs, typically once, sometimes twice a month. They include REOs, non-performing and performing notes, as well as some occupied properties. We've sold bulk packages in these for as low as $3,500 a door, and most of them you can buy for under $10,000 a door. Now, those are for flippers, and not everybody has that same sort of protocol or that same sort of buying criteria. But if you're looking to buy stuff that you can flip, buy it for $5,000 or $4,000 and sell it for $8,000 or $9,000, which is what a lot of guys are doing right now. They're just buying this stuff, doing what they call a prehab, which is just going in, spending a couple $100, giving it some curb appeal, paying off the tax lien. So maybe they're into it for $7,000 when they're done, and then flipping it for $12,000, putting it on Craigslist or on the MLS for $12,000, putting a lockbox in the front door, cleaning out all the trash. That's a great way to make money, a great way to flip. But we do tons of these types of REOs. If you're not on that list, you're not seeing that stock. Protocol on these are similar but different from bank-owned properties. We can't mass blast this list out. So what we need to do is we need to know what areas that you buy in. So just let us know what markets you buy in, and we can send that out to you. Same as a bank property, all due diligence is done up front. But unlike a bank property, I can get you lockbox codes. You can just request them via email. They're going to have some small liens, but there'll be no loans, but some small liens. So check for that. The liens are paid for by the buyer. But we can get you the lockbox codes, and we'll even give you 5 days to close. So you just email me an offer. It's very simple. We don't need an LOI or a POF. You usually get a reply back within 48 hours. Usually, if I get an offer today on an REO for $5,000, I usually know by the end of the day. That's how fast it is. And then they give you 5 days to finish your due diligence. So you get 5 days after that, to even after you've been in the property, to check for liens, do all the things you got to do. It's going to close by quitclaim deed, so don't be expecting a warranty deed. It's all done very fast, but it's very simple. It's a very good way to flip. If you're going to flip, though, and you're just going to contract it to sell to somebody else, we're going to ask for a deposit. Too many people in the last couple months, and I mean dozens. We just had one last week, contracted 47 properties, said they were the direct buyer. Turns out they were flipping. They couldn't close it. We got stuck. We're not doing that again without a deposit. Typically how it works is the seller simply sends the deeds to any title company of your choice. The buyer wires in funds. There's no need to pay us. We're paid by the seller. So if you're a broker, you can broker these all day long. Just add in, a couple $100 or whatever for your fee. Pretty simple trade. Pretty easy way to make some fast money. Especially if you know some flippers. But you got to be on our list. If you're watching this video and you're not on our list, you're not seeing any of this stock. What we need to know from you first, if you want to consider to continue to see these lists, you need to contact our office by December the 10th via email, voicemail. I don't care how you do it, but I got to know that you watched the video, or we got to take you off our list. And we hate to do that, but that's just not a decision that we're making internally. It's really our bank contacts and even our REO contacts that don't like seeing these lists float around. And if we send lists out to people consistently and we're not hearing anything back, we assume that you're not even looking at them. So if you're not looking at them, we're just not going to send them. If you want to remain on, we know which list you want to see. If you just say all 4, we know to send you all 4 bank lists every week, which is what we frankly recommend. And if you want to see both bank lists and REOs, you got to let us know that too. Charlie, send us, my buying market is Florida, New Jersey, and Georgia. Send me both lists or all lists in those markets, and then we'll send you on that list. We intend to, Matt and I, by the end of the year, we fully intend to update our buyers list for both bank properties as well as the lower end type REO. By the way, when I say lower end, I was talking about low end stuff, $3,500. Well, those actually go up to about $60,000. So there's a big range there, but they're off market, privately owned REOs that you can get some really good deals on. So I don't want you to think there's just all $3,000 properties, because they're not. But we're going to update our list. So always Matt is at preauctionbids@gmail.com. I'm at charlie.castro@sbcglobal.net. I've had that email address since the advent of the internet, so I can't get rid of it. So charlie.castro@sbcglobal.net, or Matt at pre. It's not Matt at pre-auction bids. That's Matt's email address. Preauctionbids@gmail.com is where he controls the database. So everything that goes in and out goes through that email address. If you want more information, we did that right at 20 minutes. If you want more information, obviously contact us. We welcome phone calls. Don't think you're bugging us, but we would prefer if you just send us a text or an email and just say, can we get you on the phone today at 2 o'clock or whatever? And we'd be glad to talk to you and go over this with you. We think we're going to see some exciting things. I'll leave you with this thought. We had lunch, Matt and I had lunch last week with one of our bank reps, and he told us sitting there, he said, we think the next 2 to 8 months is going to be as good a pricing as we've seen since 9 and 10. So that's a pretty aggressive statement if that's the case. So we're hoping to see some really good things come our way. And this is going to be very fluid. We intend now probably to do a YouTube video every 2 to 3 weeks as things begin to change. We're going to update you via these YouTube videos. They're only 20 minutes. They don't take that long. I try not to bore you, but it can give you some really good information. So with that, again, I am Charlie Castro. I want to thank you for being with me today, and we look forward to talking to you all real soon.